began this channel, I knew that it would require a level of transparency on my part, and vulnerability for that matter, because the goal of this channel is to relate to you all in the same way that I would relate to my soul care counselees. And with that, there is a level of transparency and vulnerability as people are sharing their lives with me, sharing their pains, their traumas, their hurts with me, me reciprocating and sharing them some of my own experiences on my own journey. And I have the unique, I'm able to do that because, again, I'm not a clinical or licensed therapist. I'm a soul care provider, a trauma-informed soul care provider. I often regularly work alongside clinical therapists, but my work is more pastoral. And so I'm able to have more of a relationship with those that I care for. And in that, again, as people are sharing with me and being vulnerable with me, there's this dynamic of us in a partnership, as me as soul care provider, them as my counselee, of us holding hands and walking this journey together and me helping them along that path. And so with that isn't just them sharing with me and just kind of like unloading on me their secrets, their hopes, their dreams, their pains, but it's also me sharing some of the things that I've learned, some of my own struggles, some of my own pains, and there being a relationship, a dynamic, involved with that. And so with that being said, this is one of those subjects where I feel like I need to be transparent and open, vulnerable even, regarding where I've been, where I'm going, where I'm at, in order for me to really drive home what I want to talk to you about today in hopes that it would help you all. And so today we're going to talk about when the Bible becomes a trigger. Now, I'm going to do more videos in the very near future of breaking down what is trauma, what are trauma triggers, and all those kinds of things. And so that'll be coming up shortly. But one of the ways in which I've defined trauma, again, there's clinical ways, there's technical terms that can be used. One of the ways that I've categorized it is that, or defined it, is that trauma is haunting pain. It's pain that is not like a stub toe, but it's so profound and monumental that it has a devastating effect on your entire personhood, from your psychology to your body to your soul. Trauma is comprehensive in its impact and its devastation. And so it's kind of a haunting pain. It's not a moment or a painful moment that people can just get over, but it's something that is so profound and monumental that rocks somebody just to their core, that it haunts them throughout their life. And with that visual aid there, one of the ways I've classified trauma, or defined, triggers, classified triggers or defined triggers, is that triggers are like what happens if you watch, like, again, a ghost story or ghost movie, when something's getting knocked over, like a lamp's getting knocked over, or a picture's coming off it's that ghost is reminding you of its residency, that it's in your home. And triggers are very much like that, trauma triggers. You can go throughout life just completely fine, and then something that reminds you of your trauma. Your body, your mind has a way of being on alert or alerting you to this feeling of danger. And in order to protect you, it becomes triggered. It puts you in a state of defensiveness and of a state of feeling like it's about to relive that trauma, and or that abuse or whatever happened. And so those are what triggers are. And again, I'm going to flesh that out in some future episodes that I do here. But I want you to just give that kind of general picture there. And so when we're talking about spiritual trauma, again, which I will unpack at a later time, it's more specifically in the way in which it impacts people's relationship to the Bible. That's what I want to talk about with you today. So for me personally, I became a Christian later in life. I was 18 years old, my first semester of college, when I had a radical conversion experience. And it was a radical conversion experience because I became a lover of God, when prior to that, I hated God with a passion. I literally remember days where I would drive down the highway going 110 miles per hour, cursing God and daring him to make me crash so that I could meet him and curse him out face to face. I had a very passionate hatred for God. And what was really behind that, and again, more things that I'll unpack in time, was that since I was 12 years old, I've struggled with clinical depression and suicidal ideations. And I have blamed, and as a abuse survivor, as well as someone who struggles with clinical depression, I blame God for those experiences and for that struggle. And I passionately hated God for what would happen to me when I was going through a depression episode, being left in the floor in a fetal position, crying, longing for death because of the depths of despair. And so I hated God for allowing me to experience what I experienced. And so I had this passionate hate for God. And when I was converted, and when God revealed himself to me, when he showed up, my entire life completely radically changed. It was so what it did, the way it rocked my understanding of the world was so profound that I actually dropped out of college and got a part-time job. I moved back closer to home, and I got an apartment. So I lived on my own, and I got a part-time job making just enough money to pay for rent. And every other moment that I had away from that was spent reading the Bible, trying to make sense of this paradigm shift in regards to who God is and his relationship to me that I was now encountering. And so my first year as a believer, I read through the Bible, the entire Bible, 6 to 7 times. Real quick, funny quick story was my first Bible, because I haven't shared you with my testimony yet, but I came out of gang culture, and a lot of stuff that happened with that. But it was funny because my first Bible, I didn't understand the dynamics of Bible translations. All I knew was the King James Bible, and I was like, I can't read this joint with all the thus thous and all this other kinds of stuff. And so I was at Walmart one day, and I saw this Bible. It was called a teen Bible. And I opened it up, and again, I'm 19 years old at the time. I guess 18 years old, and if you coming from the street, coming from a gang life and culture and everything else, here I am in the middle with my Timbs and my baggy jeans and my Yankee hat and everything else, just dressed as I am, culturally as I am, and I'm picking up this Bible that has like cartoons in it, that are kind of commentaries for the Bible passages, and it was called a teen Bible. And I bought it, and the reason I bought it was because it was done. I didn't realize at the time that it was just simply the NIV version. I just knew it didn't have all the thus, thous, and these, and that it was in plain English. And so I would go back on the block, talk to my friends who were drug dealers and various other kinds of folks, and holding my little teen Bible with my cartoon drawings in it, because that's the only Bible that I had that I really could relate to because of the language barrier there. And but then I ultimately graduated to a more formal Bible. But here's the thing. For the first year, and actually longer than that, the first few years of my Christian life, I'm not joking when I tell you that I used to fall asleep holding my Bible like it was a teddy bear. I would literally read my Bible, and I went from hating God to feeling the love of God so deeply, and learning more about this God who loved me through the Bible, that every night I would fall asleep holding the Bible like it was a teddy bear as a grown man. And I'm not ashamed or embarrassed of that. In fact, I miss that. I deeply, deeply miss that. And that's what this video is going to be about, when the Bible becomes a trigger. You see, because for me, what ended up happening was I ended up enrolling in seminary. I went to seminary, and of course, everybody warns you about seminary, about, hey, don't go there and get all dry, because of all the intellectualism. I kind of laughed at like that, like there's no way. And I went to seminary, and I've learned more about the Bible. I became a preacher. I miss preaching. I loved preaching and I actually got an A. I got 100% in my preaching courses. And so I loved preaching. I loved reading the Bible. I loved teaching the Bible and all those kind of things. I loved reading the Bible. But then over the course of years, the Bible more and more became weaponized against me. And more than that, I began to see how certain interpretations of the Bible were used to actually build in me, indoctrinate in me, a self-conception that saw myself as being unworthy, as being as dehumanizing, and just a whole conception that was beginning to get warped. That didn't happen when I was reading the Bible by myself, several times through in my first year as a believer. But once I got into trusted community into spaces with pastors who I entrusted my soul to and entrusted that they would teach me more about what this book says, it was weaponized against me. It was weaponized against my family. It was weaponized against others. And my saving grace was I had already read through the Bible several times. And so there was a dynamic of actually being able to see a lot of that and just not drink the Kool-Aid in some sense while I was in an evangelical seminary. But there was this other dynamic where there was these deep-seated conceptions and ideas about myself and about the world that was built upon a twisted understanding or interpretation of the Bible that was used to compound oppression. And of course, my ancestors can relate, as they had slave Bibles with entire passages removed from them so that they wouldn't question their oppression and their enslavement. And so there's this dynamic. So when I'm doing soul care, when I'm meeting with someone and helping them process through their spiritual trauma, there have been times where I have spent over a year caring for somebody and never even bringing the Bible up. I may quote various passages, may quote various Bible stories. I may contextualize various aspects of the Bible and theology and everything else, but I haven't brought up the Bible itself because I learned very early on in my work that there were people like me who have a passion and love for the Bible and what the Bible revealed to them about who God is and who Jesus was and the preciousness of the work of Christ. But those same people have difficulty even opening a Bible, let alone reading it, because the Bible itself has become a trigger. When they open the Bible, when they look at a Bible, when they hear a Bible, when they see a Bible passage quoted, their response is, it's not disgust, it's this internal scream. It's a soul cry. It's that their very souls kind of put up walls because of the fear of it being abused or assaulted with that book. And there are things that is a profoundly tragic reality that exists, but it absolutely does. And there's so much that could be said. None of these episodes I'm doing are going to be scripted. When I do counseling, when I do soul care, none of it's scripted. And so following that same spirit, I'm not going to be scripting these videos. And so I'm going to be working this out with you as we talk, okay? And so you have to forgive me even when it comes to captions, because I'm going to trust YouTube to do that to some extent, because all of this, there's no transcript for what I'm talking about, okay? So just kind of want to put that on as a caveat. But it's profoundly sad, the fact that a book that God reveals himself to and has for the ages, that was supposed to be a tool of encouragement and affirmation of love, has been used and twisted and perverted to such an extent where it has become a blunt weapon used against God's people to break them down and to oppress them. But it's been going on since the Bible's been written and since the books of the Bible have been written. And so as I'm caring for people, that's something that is always on my mind. It's been my own experience, and so I can relate to those who have that experience. And there's so much that can be said about that, and I'm going to unpack a lot of this in time. But I think what the primary message is that I want to kind of get across in this kind of introductory video of this subject is, one, I want to give it a category. I want to give people the language for it. And let them help them understand that, one, you're not tripping and you're not crazy because the Bible has become a trigger to you, because the Bible has been used as a weapon against you. If you are a survivor of spiritual abuse and the Bible was used as an instrument to perpetuate said abuse, the Bible absolutely can become in and of itself a trigger. The same way that worship music can, the same way that preaching can, the same way that even church community can, where you want to go to church, you've been told that obedience is going to church, but you literally can't, because as soon as you even think about it, or as soon as you get close to the church doors, you start breaking out in cold sweats, your heart starts beating real fast, and your body starts screaming danger, and your soul starts screaming danger. those are very real realities that are the fruit of spiritual trauma that many people, often those who perpetuate or enable spiritual trauma, will tell you is abnormal and is an expression of disobedience or unfaithfulness. When in reality, it is your body doing exactly what your body was designed to do, to warn you when it feels it's in a space of danger. And for your soul to do what it is meant to do, which is to give you feelings of unease when it feels like it's entering into a space that is not safe for it. And so there are ways of actually healing from spiritual trauma, from the church being a trigger. There's, again, as I've mentioned, there's been times where I've met with people for over a year where I haven't brought the Bible up because there's so much other repair and healing that needs to happen before someone can be reintroduced to the Bible in a way where it doesn't trigger, but in a way where it actually brings what it's supposed to bring, which is comfort and reassurance. And so that's something that I think is very important to understand. What the Bible is intended to do for believers versus what it often has done, and the idea that forcing people who have been abused with the Bible to read the Bible or to engage the Bible, that can cause a profound disorientation or confusion of mind, body, and soul if done when they are not ready, when they're still in a place of needing some deep healing before that's introduced. When people hear stuff like that, they lose their minds. People are going to say Kyle is encouraging people not to read the Bible or not do this. No, what I am saying is that people matter, and I believe that God, my God, our God, actually empathizes with abuse survivors. And God weeps, Jesus weeps over the ways in which his Bible has been used, his word has been used to break people down and to destroy people and to devastate souls. And that God is more concerned about our holistic well-being and health and flourishing than he is with some legalistic obedience to something, especially something that is just compounding our harm and compounding unique kind of harm that is actually keeping us further away from him rather than being able to do the healing that is necessary to come back to him through that specific medium. And so, yeah, in the end, again, there's so much more can be said. I'm sure that I'm going to do more videos on this. I'm positive that I'm going to do more videos on this. But I feel like there's other things that I need to do first to kind of build up to reintroducing this concept and working through it with you all. But this video is more to put it on your radar. I want you to hear, again, give language to the reality that spiritual trauma exists. And the dynamic of the church, the Bible itself being a trigger is a very real reality. And one of the ways in which you can tell, for those of you who are receiving counseling, whether it be a Christian therapist, whether it be a Christian counselor, or a soul care provider like myself, that you have your ears tuned to the sensitivity of the care provider in regards to your spiritual trauma triggers. Are they people who are telling you need to just get over it and just engage with things that your body and your mind and your spirit are not yet healed enough to actually engage in a way that actually is producing joy, health, flourishing, and peace? Are they patient? And are they kind and patient enough to understand that, hey, these things are hard for you, these things are triggering. We can put a pin on that and we can work towards that if you so choose, but let's take our time. And again, and do they set the timetable? Or do they work with you, allow you to set the timetable and work with you in a way where you're able to pace towards healing and returning to things like the Bible in a way where you actually feel ready and prepared and healthy enough to do that? Do they give you that kind of freedom and liberation to do that? Or are they pressuring you to engage with something before you're ready? Again, I want to give you all language to understand these categories. I want you to give you eyes to be able to perceive how you are being cared for if you are receiving care. And if you don't have access to care, I want to be an access point for you. With that being said, I am an active soul care provider. I take on clients. I do care. As of right now, my work is specifically with ethnic minority survivors. I've tried to engage and care for and help white Christian survivor communities and spaces, and I'm at the point now, due to various experiences, where I don't believe that that's the best use of my time, where that has the result of more compounding trauma than actually helping it, my own trauma. And so I've largely centered my work, with few exceptions, on caring for minority survivors. If you are one, you feel free to reach out to me. You don't have to set up appointments. You don't have to actually meet and actually start a process of care. You're free to shoot me an email, or reach out to me on Instagram or through Threads. I'm no longer on Twitter. And so, yeah, and if you want to support my work, of course, I have my Patreon. But I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, we'll be exploring this more in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video. Grace and peace to you.